Let's talk about production, cost, profit function, short run versus long run. Production, one of the company, if we talk about the production, of course for maximizing profit, and the profit that company earns come from the revenue the company get from the suppliers, employees, and client.
Production function is the relationship between the numbers of workers that hire from the firm and the quantity of goods that produce. To make production function optimum, we have to understand the decision making that how many workers that has to hire and how much goods that produce. This would be related to marginal product of worker. So what is actually marginal product? Let's say a restaurant with a one worker, they can produce 50 breads per day, and by adding one more worker, they can produce 90 breads per day. When the number of workers rise from 1 to 2, breads that produce increase from 50 breads to 90 breads. So the marginal product of the second worker is 40 breads. By adding one more worker, and that would be 3 workers, they can produce 120 breads per day. So the marginal product decline from 40 breads to 30 breads. So we can conclude that the more we add workers can make the marginal product decline. And why this could be happen? When a restaurant only hire a few workers, they have easy access to their kitchen equipment. And when the numbers of workers increase, the existing workers have to share the equipment with the new workers. So the more workers will be hired, the additional workers will contribute less bread to the total production. So we can conclude that if the number of workers increase, the marginal product will decrease and the production function becomes flat.
Cost is an object or an action requiring the payment before it can be acquired or done. Total cost is the value of the input of some uses in production. Fixed costs. Fixed costs are the costs that do not vary with the quantity of output produced. Or it could say that fixed costs or expense that are not dependent on the level of goods or services produced by businesses. Example fixed cost is maybe electricity, store rental, accounting staff salary, and something else. Variable costs. Variable costs are costs that vary with quantity of output produced. The variable cost change with the change in the volume of activity of an organization. Example variable cost is raw material, packaging, direct labor, which is directly involved with company manufacturing process.
Now we are talking about profit function. Talking about profit function, we are talking about profit itself and function itself. We're talking about function is about the process of making raw material to be a product to sell. Talking about profit function, we are talking about cost function and revenue function. Total revenue function is about total revenue, where is the amount a firm receive to the sales of its output. Total cost is the market value of the input a firm use in the production. We also can categorize profit into 2 different groups distinguished from the perspective of the economic versus accountant. Economic profit is total revenue minus total cost, including both explicit. In other way, input costs that require an outlay of amount by the firm. Accounting profit is total revenue minus total explicit cost, which could be read from the financial statement of the firm.
Now we're talking about differences between short run and long run. Short run is the time period when at least one input or resources such as plant size cannot be changed. The long run is the time period in which all resources of production are changeable. In the short run, other resources used by the firm such as labor, raw materials, and energy can be changed in the short run. Short-run decisions are easily reversed, but in the long run, decisions are not easily reversed. The short-run supply curve is much steeper than the long-run supply curve because there are diminishing returns in the short run. The long-run supply curve is much flatter than the short-run curve, means that the quantity are increases by a large amount in the long run.
Long run and short run is also related to the scale of economic. For example, when a company or a factory need to increase its volume of production or level of production, they need to adjust the process, such as they have to add some direct labor or they have to build a new plant. For a company that has a small or maybe medium size, they can adjust the volume production maybe in weeks or months. But when a larger company have to increase their production, maybe they need a longer time. Maybe they have to build a new plant. It will be a long run. So the short run and long run is depend on the size of the company. Also, when we have to increase the production, maybe it will be there are a diminishing return when sometimes when we add volume there will be an additional for the cost. But in some area when the scale of economic is good, when we add some unit of products, there will be decreasing of unit cost. So it is depend on the scale of the economics once more. Okay.